I would like to call the meeting of the Patricia Hannaford Regional Technical School District Board to order. The time is 5:08. And let's start with board member introductions. Could we have people online go first?
Laura Harthill, Middlebury ACSD.
And Liz?
Liz Fair, MAUSD, and internet's not great, but I can hear you with my video on. But I'll use my thumbs up and vote and all of that. Thank you for your patience.
Okay. And Steve?
Dick Box, Middlebury.
Christina?
Oh, sorry, Christina Macklin, Madison Northwest District Rep.
Dan Rosendahl, Madison Northwest at large.
Steve Warzak, ACSD, and Board Vice Chair. So, introductions. Motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Dan, and a second?
Second.
Christina? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay? And any
Abstentions?
Abstentions.
That's what you're trying to say?
What? Wait a minute. Okay, so by unanimous consent, we have approved the agenda as warned. Motion to approve the September 18 minutes. Do I hear that motion?
So moved.
And any second?
Second.
And any discussion about the minutes? Hearing none, I then call for a vote. All in favor of approving the motion, the minutes from September 18th, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Minutes are approved. Okay, now we come to the public comment section. Remember, public comments are limited to 3 minutes, and this is the first opportunity. Excuse me, and there will be a second opportunity later on in the meeting. Is there anyone online? Because there is no one in the room.
No other attendees.
No other attendees? Okay, then we will move on to the consent agenda. First, we have the monthly accounts payable. Any of the consent agenda. Are there any items in the consent agenda that anyone would like to discuss?
Probably the line of credit, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's more to come on that, but we'll
Okay.
touch on that later.
Okay, great. That is on the
It's an
agenda
action.
later, right? Okay, perfect.
Okay, since there is none, then unless there is any objection, we will adopt all of the consent agenda. Seeing no objection, by unanimous consent, move forward to personnel items. Nicole?
You had a board resignation. Michael Giorgio resigned from the board effective 7th. And so now we have a empty position for the ACSD at-large position. Should this board accept this resignation, then I will alert the ACSD board of their open spot and they take their process from there. We also sadly have a resignation of Cameron Waldorf, who is our finance assistant. He was admitted into the police academy, which is his heart's dream. It's been a year-long process for him to apply and be admitted, so we're very excited for him, but very sad for us. So, yeah, so we have already reposted the position with the hopes of having a strongly qualified applicant apply soon.
Okay, so that would require a motion to accept the resignation of staff. I'm not sure that the board has to have we have to have a motion to accept that.
I don't know the statute. You have previously accepted the resignation of board members.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then could I have a motion to accept the resignation of Michael Giorgio?
So moved.
Second.
And is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting resignation of Michael Giorgio, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, that letter has been accepted. And can I hear a motion for the resignation of Cameron Waldorf?
So moved. But somebody online, it's your turn
Come on,
next.
Do I have your second?
I'll second.
Second.
Steve Parks,
Steve
second.
Parks.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting the resignation of Cameron Waldorf, please say aye.
Aye.
Recording in progress.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
And we wish him well.
Wish him well, and congratulations on his acceptance into his new position, but we will be sad to see him go. Okay, that moves us on to action items on E. The first four, I believe, various staff members will be discussing those before we get to the policy. So I'll turn it over to whoever is doing the district quality self-governance
All right.
assessment.
So those of you who are sitting on other boards may have seen this or already done this activity. We, as part of the new legislation, Act 73, we are required, this is the beta test year of district quality standards. There are a number of standards which the administration reports out to AOE on, our level of proficiency essentially on the different standards which have been adopted. These are the standards that the board self-reports what you believe to be your level of proficiency. So for each of these standards in this little packet that you have, starting with standard 113.11, the board needs to determine if you are beginning, approaching proficient, or advanced on the standard. The board could either choose tonight to go through this packet together and just go ahead and get it done, and then I go ahead and report that on the tool that AOE has provided, or the board could choose to assign it to somebody or to form a committee or some other process to do this. I have to report the results by November 14th, I believe. I have about a month between now when we just got the tool from AOE to report on and when I actually do have to report. So I don't know if it's the board's pleasure to just hammer through, get it done, or if you want to create a different process for filling this out.
Please.
Well, we just actually got this on Monday, and we have all been asked at Addison Northwest to fill out a survey.
Okay.
And then the board chair is going to take the results of the survey and give it to the superintendent, basically. So that's how we're tackling this project. But I don't know what is ACSD doing.
We have done it already.
Okay.
And so it was kind of like it's been integrated into our process. So what we did last year was we actually selected a couple of these standards to address whether we thought we were not proficient or that we were trying to address to improve our action in that area. So it's kind of integrated into our board goal setting and that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, the 14th is before our next board meeting. So we really can't table this and have another board meeting on this. So I think what you're looking for is how are we going to move forward. As I remember, there are quite a few standards here. So for us to bowl through them tonight would take an amount of time. It usually really takes an amount of discussion to get through. Some of them are going to be, yeah, we do that, or yeah, we don't do that. But some of them, will generate discussion. So I am happy to move forward however the board wants. What I might suggest is that we do these individually outside of the board meeting, report the results back to Nicole, and then you can compile them and take an average of what we get, and then report those to AOE. Does that sound reasonable?
What would be easiest for you, Nicole? Like you?
It doesn't, any of it's fine for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to meet the deadline. That's
Right.
my requirement.
Yeah.
And, being a little bit careful, I'm not entirely sure how this information will be used in the future. So the board just might want to be cognizant of that. But however the board provides it to me, I can certainly put it into the tool. It's just clicking buttons on the tool itself.
I understand, but I believe we have 5 board members missing tonight.
Right.
And I would feel a little remiss
That's true.
to do it all, to rush through it tonight and not have the input of 5
Let me see
people.
what we got for.
Oh, Dan, you had your hand up.
Yes, if you let us do our homework, but give us a little guidance as to perhaps where you feel we are on this. Do you have a feel that we could either agree or disagree, maybe? Are we advanced proficient on all of these things, or are we
We are not.
moving proficient? No, I was just.
No. I mean,
So-
the second one right there about the board goals, we literally just started doing.
Yes.
Right, so that's
Yes.
just
So,
beginning, right?
okay.
Yeah.
And then also there's one in here, there's a choice. It says you either choose policy governance or, what's the other one?
Traditional, we are policy.
Traditional.
We are policy governance.
So traditional, we would just cross this off, right?
Right, we are a policy governance.
Yes, we
So
are
we
supposed to be a policy.
So that would be,
governance
that's one
organization.
of my, I don't want to work on something that's irrelevant. It's not relevant.
Yeah, so
It's sort of
here's
policy.
ours board homework for Addison Northwest. It's basically this exact form with buttons, and we each are asked to fill it out according to what we think. And like what Steve said, we're actually doing already a bunch of this stuff and have been doing it for a long time, but yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, and this is the AOE. I think this is the second year that they released them last year, I think, and then this is the first year that we're supposed to be giving feedback on them. So, what you said, what this is going to be used for? I think it's a little up in the air as to how this is going to inform policy or what happens at the state level. But I think they're trying to get a handle on what boards are actually accomplishing and how they're working.
Yeah, what they're doing and what they're not doing.
Yeah, right, exactly. And especially if there's going to be district consolidation and trying to create models for good governance. I think that's where this is headed, if I had to take a take on it. Dan, I don't object to your idea. However, I would say that this is probably a strictly board matter, and that the superintendent would be in an awkward position to say that we're doing something right or not right, and possibly could give us feedback after we do it. But I do believe that this is in our lane. So
Yeah.
okay, so this wouldn't be a bad thing to have as a recorded motion. So could someone make a motion?
That we take this home and work on it?
Yeah, and that what date, you said the 14th is when you have to have it in by.
Yeah.
What would be enough?
2 weeks be sufficient for the board so that I could then compile it, or
I'm trying to.
1 week? 1 week.
I'm trying to do it this way.
Okay.
So you're
Honestly,
saying-
because if you give too much time, people are just gonna like.
Okay,
Right,
We
they'll
have
probably
until,
do it.
we got till November 1st to do
Right.
it.
okay.
So, and I would appreciate it in a form where we could, a survey thing, or click a button. Can you do that
Okay.
easily enough? Or I
actually,
can ask them to share this
That would be
document.
wonderful, yeah.
Because if it's already been done.
It's basically the document.
So how about the date that I send it out, the board has 1 week to complete it? Board members have 1 week to complete it?
Okay,
Seems reasonable.
note the week, when you send it out, write on it, this is due,
Yes.
just
Yeah,
like
let me-
homework.
Yeah, so whenever it's ready, just let us know and that starts the clock, and if you could tell us when
I'm
that
gonna
deadline
send
is.
Mark
Perfect.
an email.
We can do that.
Okay, is there any other discussion on the district quality?
Steve, you asked this to be a motion, I've not heard a motion.
Oh, you're right, I did.
The motion, since the task is actually required of the board could delegate me to actually complete the AOE tool based on the feedback of the board, should you like to do that.
Okay.
I make a motion to do that. To delegate Nicole.
I think we need a little more. So.
She had stated it so eloquently, I was going
Yeah, but Linda, what would you need? Is that enough, or?
to set this up to enable us to individually vote on each of the standards.
With input from board members.
So something along the line of that Dr. McTavish will create a survey tool. And once the survey tool is available, the board will have 1 week to compile it so that it can be ready for the November 14th deadline. Okay. Is that jive with what everybody understands it to be?
Yes.
That was the motion. When he said that thing.
But who's making the motion?
Dan.
I'll
Yeah.
make that motion.
Wait a second.
And a second.
Second.
Christina, second. Is there any discussion?
Can you note which ones we don't need to pay attention to? As we mentioned,
My understanding is that there's none that we don't pay attention to.
Right.
traditional board governance.
That might be a choice in the, in an individual tool, but I don't think it's a separate item, is it?
Right, so for 113.1.4, you would complete the one that says policy governance rather than the one that says
Traditional.
traditional.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Right.
All right, so it's, all right.
So they're the same, it's the same standard, it's just 2 different pages as I recall.
Okay.
Yeah, it says select one of those pages, and we would be the second page, which is policy governance.
Well, when we do the form, we can actually
Yeah.
only put
Well,
that
Only
one
put,
in.
only put page 19,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be helpful,
Yes.
or avoid confusion anyway.
yeah.
I just sent him a note.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Yes.
And thank him in
Well,
advance.
why should we reinvent the wheel here, right? It's already been made.
Any further discussion on
Do you want
this?
your deadline for
item?
the board members as a part of that?
That
1 week, how long?
1 week from the
We'll try and
sending.
get it out tomorrow.
Okay, so let's say
The
next Friday.
Yeah, October 24th.
I mean, what you gave us is something we could start working on
You can,
now,
yeah,
and then we just fill out the form. and-
Correct, sure.
I don't want to sound like a gun.
What was the deadline? October
That would be the 24th.
November.
Yeah. No, 24th of October,
A week from
a
tomorrow.
week from tomorrow.
I will be gone all week. Okay, I'll do my best.
Would you want to do it, is November 1st not enough? I guess that was maybe a bad suggestion since you're gone all week next week.
I'm not bringing my computer.
Yeah,
It's the board's pleasure. The 1st is fine, that's plenty of time for me.
okay, all right, sorry. I should have just kept.
Okay. No, I thought that was,
Okay, so instead of,
Yeah, November 1st.
we'll set it at a date of November 1st.
I was assuming it would take. a
Hey,
few
Steve and
days.
Liz, did you hear that? We're gonna have the survey, and Laura, we're gonna have the survey due November 1st to me so that I can turn it around.
Yeah, sounds great. And if you're asking permission to get the clip form from Addison Northwest, would you also ask permission if maybe I could share that version with MUSD?
I'll just do that right now.
All about your copy.
Thank you.
Sharing
Make
the
sure
wealth.
we acknowledge who did all the work.
Well, he just got hired by the VSBA, so, he's gonna sharing is caring, right? Yeah.
Good.
Okay, if there's no other discussion on that item, I call for a vote. All in favor of having the director create an online version that will then be filled out by board members and due back to her by November 1st for submission on November 14th. All in favor, please say aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, ready to move forward with the state board rules and Perkins.
So you might remember that because we aren't a standalone school district, we still have to follow the rules which apply to the IRBs which govern CTE districts, which are not standardized standalone districts. So state board rule gives us those things that we have to do. There are a series of them, I believe there are 12, and this is number 9. And it is our pleasure to report to you that we are in compliance, and Wendy is here to tell you about that compliance.
Yeah, so this is a list. It's probably not all-inclusive, although we were able to add quite a few things to it this year by adding some more minds to work on it. So this gives a pretty good breakdown of what we are doing to be in compliance with state rule number 9. So it's broken down by how we are targeting certain groups. So we've got our middle school students and families. Those are our tours. Anytime that we open the building up for the community, our open houses. We have presentations that we go and do at the high school. We are always doing shadow days. Nicole does her road show. You'll see a big increase in our digital and print engagement. So that's something that we've really worked hard on and we're getting lots of good feedback on. And just really gets the word out. So we often, it's interesting when we are hearing from employees or people that come in to apply for a job, they have been able to get a lot more information about what we're doing here. So that's very helpful. Stuff that we're doing with our sending school partners, and then our statewide and regional political engagement. Nicole's talked about that a lot in the last year, especially. Our continued work with all of our business partnerships. That's something that we also try to talk to our students about a lot so that they're really aware of the importance of that. I often bring that up when I'm having discussions on behavior issues or driving issues, how we have to rely on these people that vote for our school center here. And so it's just a really good opportunity to, get the young minds thinking about what the community does for them here. And then broken down by program, you'll find different ways that we are working to kind of sell our product. So it's pretty lengthy, but I think it's actually pretty fun to go through. It's kind of fulfilling. Any particular questions from anyone?
Does anyone have any questions about this?
Yeah?
I do, actually. This is a bit of an asking question.
Sure.
Because it's been a sticking point about another situation. Under the Introduction to Agriculture,
Yeah.
that they harvest the produce and they use it to make salsa, which is then sold to the public. My understanding was that could only be done if you're selling stuff to the public that is handmade. That has to be done in a commercially.
It is done in a commercially.
So it is
and
done
the
in-
students all earn their CERSE certificate in order to do it.
Okay,
Yes.
that's why I was asking.
Yep.
Was,
Good question.
it's really important that we follow those rules,
It
isn't
is,
it?
Yes. The cider they do not sell because they don't go through
There's no
the pasteurization process.
And I assume that they're complying with the maple syrup. Because
Yes,
that is sold
very
publicly
much
as
so.
well.
Yes.
Yeah. Linda can probably attest to that. Yes, Christina.
So do you provide this report to the AOE? Is that where this goes, or the State Board of Education, or?
We have to have it in our board minutes,
Okay,
so that should AOE monitor us,
Uh-huh.
that they would be able to find it.
okay.
I will tell you though, we will use a lot of this information for our NEASC reporting.
Oh, yeah.
This will be a great tool for that. It will also be used in our CLNA, which we are in which is our comprehensive local needs assessment that we have to do every 2 years, and this is a year that we have to do it. So we'll be able to pull from all of these things.
Okay, and has this been compiled on a yearly basis, or is this kind of something new for us to be doing?
We learned about it my first year here, that
Okay.
it was required of us, even though we are not a RAB and don't have a RAB. So we just started incorporating it on a monthly basis, kind of like we're doing for the other thing, which is about to come up
Yeah.
with the government, with the ends reports.
Okay.
So we weren't I can't testify to if we were compliant all along, but we have been.
Yeah, I don't ever remember seeing anything like this, and so that's why I was asking. And do you guys have an opportunity to see what other schools are doing related to this? Like, I'm just comparatively speaking, like what other centers?
We don't see this report,
No.
but as
Okay.
part of our directors meeting, we often report out about practices that are gaining traction, and then we try to copy each other.
Great.
But my understanding was, you said this only applies to independent career centers, and there's only like 3 of them in the state of Vermont, right there.
No, it actually is a board rule which applies to the RABs, which is the not board, but kind of like a board that governs CTE centers that are not independent.
Okay.
But even though we have an actual school board, not a RAB, we still have to do what we found out. So we are now doing it.
Great.
I understand.
Jen,
Can you remind me what a RAB is, a RAB?
Regional Advisory Board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good.
And they function kind of like a school board,
Okay.
but they only meet a few times a year. But they do help the CTE centers decide on big decisions.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Any further questions about item 2? Okay, hearing none, I think we're ready to move on to the ends report. Nicole?
I do need an action on that one to accept it.
Oh, so we need to accept, okay. So can I hear a motion to accept the feedback for State Rule 9 as compiled by the administration?
So moved.
A second?
Seconded.
It's a good thing you're here, Jim.
So sorry for being late. I
Any
had
discussion? No.
5:30 in my head, and that was my meeting yesterday, was 5:30. The one today obviously was 5, so that's completely silly mistake on my part.
Well, we went on without you.
Terrific.
Okay, we limped.
So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on State Rule 9? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting the report of the of the director? Say aye. And any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, there is your motion. Okay, ends report 2.5, emergency superintendent succession.
This is the annual report that I do for the board that says if something should happen to me and I became incapacitated or died, that the center would continue to have appropriate leadership. So you are in a really fortunate position as a board because Dr. Pratt is licensed as both a superintendent and a CTE director. So she would be easily able to step into my role. I would also, not that I'd be here, but I would highly recommend that the board hire her in a permanent position in that role should something happen to me. She's been here, she's well qualified and certainly knows what we're doing in the history of what has been. Should she become incapacitated, generally the director of operation would step up. So that would be David Roberts, who would step into the role as an interim, but he is not a licensed administrator, so he would not be able to hold that role in a permanent position. But he could hold it in an interim position as you all decided what to do. And should David become incapacitated, Jillian is our curriculum director and is a licensed administrator, and she could also operate in an interim position, but she is not licensed as a superintendent or as a director, so she would not be able to continue in a permanent position. But by that point, you're down 4 levels, and I'm hopeful that we would be covered.
What we have in front of us says that Austin is next.
Oh, sorry, Austin.
After
Sorry.
So,
So either Austin or Jillian
Okay.
could step in on that 4th rung for sure. It would probably be, I think, a board's choice at that point. I mean, if we were down 3 levels, something terrible has happened.
yeah.
And I'm wondering what the situation of the district would even be at that point.
Yeah.
Right?
We'll have a lottery.
Yeah.
Okay, does that need to be accepted
Yeah.
as a motion?
Yes.
Okay. So do I have a motion to accept the report of the superintendent on policy title 9, 2.5, emergency superintendent succession?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second it.
And is there any discussion other than what's already ensued? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And any abstentions? You have your motion. There's another one, an ends report on 2.3, financial conditions and activities.
Yep, that one is me. That is I. So this is a quarterly report we look at every 3 months. It dovetails with policy 2.4, which is a summary of this policy. And effectively, it's an analysis of our first quarter of the fiscal year. So it goes through the end of September 2025. And I'll just summarize the key points that are detailed in this policy. So as of the end of the month through September, we spent about $1.15 million of our $5.7 million budget in the general fund. And then when you back out encumbrances for payroll and other accounts payable that we have encumbered, we have about $725,000 remaining to be spent through the fiscal year. Through the month of September, we drew just over $500,000 on our line of credit of the $1.5 million that is available to us. And we'll be talking later in the meeting about the need to extend that ceiling beyond $1.5 million. And that's to cover payroll and accounts payable, basically until the December ed fund payments begin. Our reserve funds remain stable. We have about $69,000 in the BERF fund. Our payroll, taxes, and required filings are on time. We don't have any delinquent notices there. We have not exceeded any, we have not made any purchase that exceeds the $40,000 threshold required for a bid. And then lastly, we just sent out our tuition invoices to the sending districts. So we expect about $3.25 million to come in the December, January timeframe for those, and another $1 million in ed fund payments to come in December with their annual grants to us. And that is essentially a snapshot of this policy.
Great. This is a policy compliance report. So let's get a motion on the table before we discuss anything.
I move that we accept policy title 2.3, financial conditions and activities.
And do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And okay, now if anybody has any questions or would like to ask about any particular item, now would be the appropriate time to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, David, go ahead.
Does this look like everything's on schedule, especially number one? Does it look like things are on schedule for
Yeah, for the most part.
solvency?
Yeah, when you look 1.5 relative to 5.7, it looks like we're in a healthy position. Most of that is because a large part of our payroll activity doesn't kick in the gear until faculty resume late August, and then really early September through the month is when we return to business as usual as far as expenses go. So first quarter is always pretty light in any fiscal year. And then once we get into the meat of the school year, that's when expenses, our year-to-date expenses will come up and we'll be looking at budget versus actual a lot more closely. But to also expand on that question, Dan, and we'll talk about this later on in the board meeting tonight as a different action item, but our cash position, beyond September has ramped up to the point of us looking at our line of credit in a more serious lens, similar to last year, but we're sort of ahead of schedule compared to what we looked at last year. But we will need to talk about cash needs and the timing of the ed fund payments in December and how that's impacting the next couple of payrolls and AP cycles in November.
Okay, like you said, it gets tighter as we go.
Yes, Steve Parks.
Yeah, the extension of the line of credit, or the line of credit that we're anticipating having to use, are the terms and conditions, the statements existing?
That's correct. Yep. So it's the same.
Right.
Yeah, and again, we'll talk about all those details later, but it's the same line that we have with the National Bank of Millbury.
And the interest rate won't change or anything?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor of accepting Policy 2.3 Financial Conditions and Activities Report from the administration, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, unanimous consent. Okay, the next 8 items are various policies that have been put before the board. We have found all of these policies have been presented once to the board, at least in an earlier meeting. Some of them were not what we would call second reading. So they were presented, but then we never did a second reading on them. And those are all the A policies, A21, A20, A24, and A1. So those have all been presented to the board, and they really are just I don't think any of them changed significantly. They were pro forma, checking them off to make sure that they had been reviewed to try to relieve our burden for the coming June 2026 massive policy update. And all the people for the policy committee are here, so we can answer any questions individually on the policies that we were responsible for. I would like to go down there one at a time and have votes on them and identify the person who is the quote-unquote expert on that particular policy if any questions should arise. So the first one is A21. I believe that's yours, Christina.
What's that line?
Public participation at board meetings?
I'm not, if it was, I just want to point out that.
Maybe yours was 20.
Yeah, I think.
No, yours was 20, wasn't it, Laura?
Mine was 21.
Yours was 20,
Public
okay.
participation.
Okay, Laura's is 21.
Okay.
Sorry, Christina, didn't
No,
mean to
that's
panic you there.
But I do want to point out that this copy here is not current.
Oh, the one that was in the packet?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm not, I don't know, I can't speak to why it's not the right one, but I just kind of brought it up just to double check, and it was reviewed by the VSBA on March 3rd of 2020, and it's different than what we're looking at.
both of them? Because there's 2 linked in here.
Yeah, the A21. So we might want to just,
March 3rd, what?
March 3rd of 2020 was the last time VSBA reviewed it.
That's
So-
what this one is.
That's what this says.
Oh, this one says March of, or 10/11/19,
Oh, you're looking at the next one.
A21.
Oh,
My
it's
A21.
stapled together oddly.
Staple to A1.
Oh, excellent. Okay, very good. Never mind.
Good catch,
Yay.
though.
It is the right one. Thank goodness. Yay. Okay, cool.
I was going to go to the electronic version, but
Good. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't realize they were stapled together. That threw me off.
okay. So since A21 was listed first, so we're ready to go on that one?
Just want a motion.
Yeah.
Or do we want to do these approved?
No, I would rather do them one at a time because they're different people that are experts on each one. Shouldn't take long. So could I have a motion to approve policy A21, public participation at board meetings for final read and adoption?
So moved.
So,
No, Laura's got it.
Laura's got it.
I'll do the second,
Judge, second.
however Linda wants to do that.
And is there any discussion on it? Seeing none, votes, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, that is passed. Policy F5, behavior threat assessment. And I know that this is one of the required ones that we had to adopt by October 1st, I think. So we're a little behind, but I think we'll be forgiven. This was I know this was presented to the board and has been read one time. So this is a second read for this policy. And did anybody want to make a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Dan made a motion and
Second?
Judd second. Okay, now any discussions? F5, Wendy has been attending behavior threat assessment training. And so we are
Yeah.
trying to get in compliance with the policy, but we do actually have to adopt the policy. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of adopting policy F5 behavior threat assessment as warned, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions? Seeing none, policy F5 on behavior threat assessments has been adopted. On to policy B3, alcohol and drug-free workplace. Dan, this is yours, right?
Yes, I think I supplied a line through, and it looks like the clean copy includes all that. I think the big thing is they moved the definitions from a footnote to the body of the text otherwise.
Okay.
It wasn't much of a change.
Do you have a motion to adopt policy B3, alcohol and drug-free workplace?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? No?
This is not the first read.
No, this is a second read. This is a second read. Actually, Linda, all of these should be second reads. Okay? So, seeing no discussion, move that we, all in favor of adopting policy B3, alcohol and drug-free workplace, please say aye.
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 Good.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? Seeing none, unanimous approval. I just see Laura up there, David, or Stephen, Liz still there?
Everybody has their.
That's okay, I just didn't see them on the screen, so I was
Yeah, we did.
making sure that they were still along with us. Okay, on to policy A20, board meeting agendas, preparation and distribution. I think that's yours, isn't it, Christina?
Yes, yeah, there were no changes to that.
Okay. So motion to adopt policy A20, board meeting agenda, preparation and distribution.
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
Is the date still 2020 on that? March 20?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the A's I don't think have been updated.
Just so you know, the packet has 2 copies of it.
Actually, yeah,
Oh, this one did, okay.
there's a second link there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were just like some not very substantive changes, just they renamed the paragraphs. I didn't recognize that I did this because I don't usually do this in yellow, but somebody did this, so. But if you could see the second version, you can't really see it, it's really light, but basically, those were the changes. They named the paragraphs, renamed the paragraphs. I think all this, it looks like all the, actually statutes have also changed. This citing of statutes, they've added some different statutes and took off one statute 16 there. So the actual body of the language didn't really change. It's just the citing of the statutes and retitling the paragraphs. Sorry about that.
So were there any questions or any further discussion? did we do a motion on that? Yeah.
Right, we did.
We did, okay. So
Just need to vote.
if there's any further questions, or go ahead and vote. All in favor of adopting policy A20, board meeting agenda preparation and distribution, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we have now adopted policy A20 on board meeting agenda preparation and distribution. On to A24. A24 is board superintendent relations. This one did not change.
Well, it was,
There were some things that needed to be struck out, but
okay,
there was no substantive change.
great.
So,
I don't see that the date on it is on this second copy though, right?
the second copy I thought was the one that's coming from the VSBA, but
Yeah, it was changed, last reviewed on August 4th of '24. So I just don't see that date on there.
oh, okay.
It seems like there's some missing stuff on the second page, right? Was that supposed to be the revised page?
I thought the second page was the one coming from the VSBA. Because that's not, all that text should be removed, the adoption notes and the recommended policy, all that stuff should be off. And the first one looks like ours.
The second one is missing stuff on the second page. It stops in mid-paragraph.
Yeah, that's why I think this is the VSBA version.
Okay, could we get a strike through on that? Is there?
Yeah, I think that might have happened, but I just pulled up the VSBA's. This is A24. Yeah, it doesn't look the same.
I don't. I know the formatting is wonky on the second copy because
It's just missing the end of the sentence plus one more sentence. It's just not on that copy.
on which one?
On the
At the
back
very
side,
end,
communicating
so
its, and then it just
It
drops
says the
right
board
off.
is responsible for clearly setting forth and communicating its expectations before evaluation takes place. The board will evaluate the superintendent's job performance in a way that is systematic, fair, and effective. And the legal references aren't on this copy either, and it's dated August 4th of 2025. Even though I think that website said 24. Didn't I say 24?
Yeah.
That is weird. Here's VSBA, but I got too many tabs open really fast. Anyway, I think we might want to take that one out. And
Okay, if they did it in August of this year, then yeah, we did not. The place where we found that this had been presented was before August.
it looks like the second page is exactly the new version, minus that, what I just read to you.
Okay. Okay. then-
And what you read to us is exactly what's written on the front page.
Yeah.
That verbiage.
Oh, is it really?
It
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Yeah. So, weird.
So it might just be when it went through printing, it just went through a quick accidental formatting issue or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if this, in a strike-through version, you show the new date, August 4th, and on cleaning it up, we just delete. No, either, don't delete the stuff about the formatting and the name, and then delete the date and the date.
Because when I read through, they matched.
Okay.
And so if there's a discrepancy between what the second page is and the first page is, I can't speak to that. Well, so what's the board's pleasure? I don't want to hold up the meeting with this one policy. Do you want to vote on it next time. This is not a critical one that has to be in by a certain date.
Probably ought to just vote on it next time then and just make
Okay,
sure we
yeah.
cross our
Yeah,
T's and
fix
dot
that.
our I's. and-
Yeah, what's really weird is their website says it was reviewed August 4th of 24. The printed version says August 4th of 25. So we should get clarification from them too. Like,
Okay,
when did you actually review it?
Yeah, so we're going to table
A24.
A24. So do I have a motion to table the adoption of policy A24, board superintendent relations?
So moved.
Second.
Again, any discussion? And all in favor of
Who's
tabling?
gonna generate a strike through? You want me to generate a strike through?
Just a second. So the vote is on the floor whether to table policy A24. So is there further discussion about it? Okay, how we'll move forward, we'll talk about it in a minute, Dan. So a motion to table?
Who
Yes,
got that?
you have
it.
Dan and
Yeah,
Joe
we
did
did.
that.
Okay, discussion. Now vote. Vote to table policy A24, board superintendent relations. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
And any abstentions? And okay, so that policy is tabled until November. Okay, policy D3, responsible computer network and internet.
I think that was mine. I did find a newer version and generated a strike through. So you can see what here is new and it looks like a lot of changes, but I think it really just stays the same thing. It's more inclusive.
Yeah.
And of maybe some of the things that are going on in appropriate material for the internet and so forth. But I think the core of it is the same from what we previously approved. And there's a new date. This is February 2024, so that's going to be updated.
But this already went before the board last, August, right? Or September.
I generated the strike through last week.
Oh, okay. So then we'll have to move this from adoption to first read.
I move that we shuffle D3, responsible computer, from action item to first read.
Okay. So there's a motion on the table to present D3, responsible computer network and internet use as a first presentation rather than as an adoption.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of accepting policy D3, responsible computer and, oh, wait a minute, it's first read. We actually don't do motions on that, do we? So it's been presented.
I think the motion is just about moving it to
Out of an
first
action
read.
item.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
To change it from an adoption to first read. Okay. All in favor of doing that?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that action has been taken. It's been designated as presented for the first time instead of adopted. On to policy C8, pupil privacy rights.
And that is me. And I guess we probably should do the same thing with this policy because I just provided the strike-through version at the beginning of the week or whenever I sent that to Shannon. And although
Okay.
there are absolutely really no changes to this policy except citations, to follow protocol, I would suggest that we make this a first read too and vote on it at the next meeting.
And are you making a motion?
I guess that was a motion. Thank you. Taking it out of the action item, moving it to whatever.
Presentation.
Or presentation.
And I'll second that.
Thank you.
All in favor of moving policy C8, pupil privacy rights, from an action item to a first presentation, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, we are in sight. Policy A1, board member conflict of interest.
I think this was mine.
That was yours, Dan.
Because I didn't think we should adopt it, so they gave it to me to check.
And we did do a
We
first
did-
read on this.
We did do a first
I know that
read,
for
and
sure.
it's, and it's just, will, shall, he or she, and so forth, and some changes in headers, so I think that we can adopt this as it stands, as the new version, with a new date of August 15th, 2023.
And this is a required policy, just so
I move that
Oh,
we,
it is A1.
I move that we adopt A1 board member conflict of interest.
Is there a second?
I'll second
I'll
it.
second it.
Okay.
Oh, that's a second.
Laura? Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, policy A1, board member conflict of interest, all in favor of adopting that policy, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nay? Any abstentions? Okay, that one has been adopted. Thank you for bearing with us. We are caught up better than we have been on
Yep.
policy for a while, so hopefully the lift will be easier next month. On to line of credit. Austin, you said you were going to say.
Yeah, so that's ours, and I think before we get to the motion, we'll give a little bit of context and open it up for discussion, and then we can do the formal motion for approval. So what David and I put together are a couple of slides, they're just 3 slides that describe sort of the financial picture that we're facing basically now. And I think a lot of this came to fruition when we looked at payroll and AP at the end of last week. The biggest lift last week was sending out our annual bond payment to the Vermont Bond Bank of $637,000. And so once we processed that payment in accordance with payroll and AP, we realized we're coming up a little bit short with our debt service obligation and cash flows. So David, if you move on to the first slide, this sort of details from a high-level perspective what we're facing on a typical week. I think starting the end of August is when I said faculty came back to school, so that's really the starting point when we get back into gear. So on a bi-weekly basis, we're sending out about $125,000 just to cover payroll, and that covers all salaries, taxes, any withholdings, benefits checks, that sort of thing. In that same process, we're also sending out anywhere from $50,000 to $150,000 of accounts payable checks. As we all know, VHI, our health insurance bill monthly, is the lion's share of that. So we're sending about $70,000 each month just to cover health insurance costs. And then we have other bills we're paying, obviously, to keep the lights on. And then the big one this year was our bond payment of $637,000. So we just executed that last week. So that's sort of where we are today. And then again, every 2 weeks moving forward, we sort of repeat the same cycle with payroll and AP. As it pertains to our line of credit, since July, we've had to draw down about $1.3 million just to get through this process. So basically, through the end of last week, we've taken out $1.3 million of our $1.5 million line. And that's, again, just to float operating costs and our bond payment. So effectively, that leaves us with $200,000 to get through the rest of the month and into really November, December, which is really not adequate from a cash perspective. So I think ballpark what we are requesting when David and I did a reanalysis of cash flows and we mapped out the entire year revenue and expenses, we're coming up with a new line of credit extension, so increasing our limit to $2.275 million. And David, if you move on to the next slide, this sort of explains what those contributing factors are, which are sort of baked into why we're requesting that increase. And part of this analysis has required me to go back several years to look at how our budget has increased and how our line of credit has increased, and same with our debt service. And these numbers sort of highlight the growth in how our line of credit has not really kept up with the times. So just comparing to fiscal year 20, we've had about a 64% budget increase. Our line of credit in that time, so since fiscal year 20, has increased about 46%, but our debt service has increased by 400% compared to just a few years back. And really the significance of the November payment is what's putting a strain on that cash. So this is sort of a visual representation of this fiscal year, which shows expenditures in the red, revenues that we anticipate are in the green, and then the blue solid line is our cumulative surplus or deficit, so revenue less expenses. And so you can see where we are today, basically mid-October, we're reaching the peak of when we are at our worst cash position. And again, the AOE's payments in December is really what sort of primes the pump and brings us back to a healthy cash position. There are two major payments that we're looking forward to that we receive every single school year. So the mid-December AOE payment, which is about $500,000 that'll come in for the Ed Fund. There's another $500,000 that'll come in for our salary assistance grants, our tuition assistance grants. And then in that same time frame, we have about $3.25 million coming in from our sending districts that we've tuitioned.
That's the big one.
So yeah, Middlebury, Virgins, Mount Abe, all of our sending districts combined will send us about $3.25 million in tuition revenue in that mid-December, early January timeframe. So those are the two major green pillars in the middle of that graph. And then from that moment in time is when we can pay our line of credit down and we're back to positive numbers. I just rambled quite a bit. If there are any questions that come to mind, yeah, Dan.
Yeah, do they, the sending schools, their 3.2 million they give us, do they pay that after they get money from the state?
Yep, so that's some of the conversations we've had as we were looking at things last week and the week before. I even put a feeler out to a few sending districts to see if they would be interested in sending us their tuition payments early.
They don't want to go into debt.
They're in the same position we are as far as.
Are they going into debt now and when they get the state payment?
I think every district manages finances differently, but they're really reliant on that December Ed Fund payment as we are. So our neighbors across the street are in. I mean, Steve, you'll probably get a better sense than I do, perhaps, but they weren't in any position to accelerate their payment to us once it's really that December 15th timing is the crux of it.
Yeah, no, but I don't think we've tapped our line of credit yet.
Sorry?
I don't think we've tapped our line of credit yet across the
Okay.
street, so I think they don't want to put us in that position.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, does this increase, I mean, can I ask part two? Does this increase our costs? It will increase our costs for the debt.
Yep.
For interest, roughly how much?
Yeah, so we were looking at a ballpark. It depends on timing. So obviously a couple of weeks, if you're late, then you spend more because it's really interest accrued.
Right.
But we anticipate it'll cost an extra $2,000 to $5,000 total just to increase to that ceiling. And again, David, if you go back, yeah. So these are sort of rough numbers that we looked at. If we paid the line down in full by mid-December, which is aggressive, if we did not increase the line and we just took out that $1.5 million, which again is not realistic because means we wouldn't make payroll in November and December. But if, for argument's sake, if we just left things as they are, we would spend about $15,000 in interest. If we increased it to the full amount of 2.275, we would spend about $17,000 in interest.
So about 2,000.
So that's with a mid-December payment. There's another scenario, David, if you go to the next slide. A January 1st pay down date, which is more realistic given the timing of everything. And we can pay in increments too, but this is just for argument's sake. It would bump our interest payment to about $18,000 if we didn't extend it versus 21 and 21.5 if we extended it.
Are you guys feeling pretty confident that once January hits, you won't have to revisit borrowing money again.
I think that's the goal, and yeah, the highlight for me really is this debt service, and
Yeah.
it's grown 400% in just a few years, and
Yeah.
the ratio to our line of credit has also increased significantly. 5 years ago, that November payment was about 10% of our line.
Mhm.
Now it's 50%. So in one single check, we're losing half of our line of credit just right out of the gate. And that doesn't even factor in other payroll and accounts payable costs that we have to pay bi-weekly. There are other scenarios where we can tap into other reserves, but that's a pretty unpopular scenario with the auditors, and it gets pretty messy when you have to loan yourself and make interfund transfers, and I don't think anything that we're looking into at the moment. David, is there any other color commentary you'd provide, or?
No, I mean, the other than, we get our budget and we're not spending more than our budget, so it is truly a cash flow timing issue. And I think that's important to remember, even though it's costing us an extra $20,000 to manage that in interest, it is just a cash flow issue, and timing. And it's not threatening our viability or anything. I would say we have a resolution.
I didn't see it in the package.
Yeah.
We just wrote it.
Okay.
Here's the resolution. I will just increase the language.
There's no way I can see that.
Control plus.
Austin,
There it
can
goes.
you guys provide that link for the minutes so that, it's.
For the presentation?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So, so we changed this name to Steve because Steve, your Perkins not, and we need Christina as secretary to witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to point you, the real is under the resolve. The top is more of just regular language. The resolve, the board of directors hereby approves and increase the district's existing line of credit from 1.5 to 2.275. And then we'll have Steve sign it and Christina do the witness.
Your last line says her signature, so.
I'll change that before we sign it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna give me a new piece of paper
Yep.
to sign? Okay.
I mean, we can leave the same. No one's gonna reject it because we can print it downstairs.
Okay. I mean, as I look through it, I can't see what you were just talking about.
That's a,
Nearly to the bottom, it says affixed her signature instead of,
Oh. I don't have any problem signing as her, so.
Okay. Well, we'll do that then. We need a motion then.
Okay, so if you can read it off of the screen, do you need me to read it? It's very short. Resolved that the Board of Directors hereby approves an increase to the district's existing line of credit with the National Bank of Middlebury from $1.5 million to $2,275,000 on the 16th of October. So would anyone like to make that motion?
So moved. Aggravatingly.
second.
You're aggravating us by making that motion, or?
No, just.
No.
Um,
And the last piece of this is similar to the renewal process we did this summer. Once we send Chris, who's our banker at the Bank of Middlebury, everything, he'll circulate the digital signatures, so you'll see in your email
okay.
basically the same thing we went through a few months ago. So just look out for your emails for the DocuSign signatures for the final board line of credit document.
Do you think that will be before midweek next week, or?
I'm hoping tomorrow, yeah, so
Okay,
I think
great.
as soon as I send that over to him in the morning, he should have that by the end of the day.
And the understanding is that the terms will stay the same as the 1.5 million, or?
Correct, yeah, the request from us to the Bank of Middlebury was to extend the limit, so to extend the amount that we can borrow against our existing line.
Okay. So is everyone clear on what we're doing here? Any further discussion? Okay, so then I will call a question. It's been put to the board to increase the district's existing line of credit with the National Bank of Middlebury from 1.5 million to 2.275 million, and yeah, with the same terms. So, anyone? Okay, ready to vote?
Yep.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we have taken care of that.
And one note, is that a quorum of the board will need to sign the loan documents. So we will be chasing people around until we get that quorum. And then once we get the quorum,
Hide and seek.
then Jane, our treasurer.
Pass that to
will
Christine,
sign.
please.
Okay. Like by next month or right away? Right away.
Tomorrow or by, yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow or next
We'll be
week.
chasing everybody down Friday and Monday.
Okay, oh, the rest of the people, or us too?
All
of us?
Yeah,
Enough to get a quorum.
Okay.
until we get the quorum, yeah.
Okay, so I believe that takes care of number 13. On number 14, budget meeting.
So we have already warned all the budget meetings for the year,
Nice.
but the budget committee has determined that they need at least one additional meeting. And so the board would need to approve them to have a budget meeting on October 30th. So they are bringing that request forward for action for the full board.
I move that we allow them to have or that we have them add a meeting on the 30th as needed.
A second?
I'll second it.
Dan seconds. Any discussion? Okay, so all in favor of allowing the budget committee to meet on October 30th at 8 a.m., please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? On to approval to transfer capital project cash to the BERF.
I will, so we have two accounts. If you guys remember, I brought you guys a plan earlier, a few months ago, where we were going to, I think at the beginning of summer, where we were going to buy some equipment. We have a BERF fund, and we have leftover money from our capital projects. So the 8.1 million, while it was sitting there, it earned a bunch of interest. And so what we are asking is just approval for us to be able to move the balance of the capital projects account into the BERF fund, and then we can close that account and we'll just be done with it. And because we're not pulling any kind of, we're not allocating any fund balance, this is just a board vote internally. So it's just more of a logistics. The balance of the capital project is about 130,000, and our BERF is 73.
I move that we allow the business office to move 130,000 and change from the capital to the BERF.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Do I hear any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the transfer of capital project funds to the BERF, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? The money has been approved to be moved. Okay, the last bit, unless anybody wanted to say anything about this, that the VSBA annual meeting is coming up on the 29th and 30th. I will be attending. I don't know if anyone else will. You are as well. And so we have a couple of options here. We can choose not to vote on the resolutions. We can designate someone as to represent the board and to vote. And the third option is to,
You can also designate me to vote for you.
that's right, that's the third one.
On this item was requested by Board Chair Farnham. She is now going to be attending those meetings.
Oh, she will be, okay.
And so she had requested to be the proxy, the designee, but the board can choose whoever as long as you're gonna be at the meeting.
I have a list of those resolutions, and I really would not like to read them, but there are 11 resolutions, plus 3 that are currently from last time, I think, yeah.
Isn't voting the night before?
Yes, so voting is actually on the 23rd, yeah, or 23rd or 24th, is when the resolutions are voted on, not then. The resolutions committee, or they have made recommendations on all of these, and the full text is easy to find. Many of them deal with, for example, vaping on school grounds, because the currently statute is only talking about tobacco products. And so this was an effort to expand that to include vaping. There are a number of resolutions on here from small schools to retain small schools, local control of public schools, against consolidation of schools. So I have a very strong opinion about that, but the question is, do we want to discuss this, or how do we want to proceed? Because these can be pretty detailed discussions.
Well, I'm not sure we can have anybody vote on our behalf if we haven't even read the resolutions. I mean,
We have a week, essentially, to decide what we're going to do about this.
But even if we have that week, it's not as though we're going to have another meeting where then we could say to you, please vote
right.
such and such a way. So
Right.
it's sort of a train has left the station on this one in some ways for voting, right?
That would be my take. Some of us are more familiar with this because we've looked at them. I don't know if you guys did.
We do as a board, yeah.
Right, and we already did.
Yeah.
And
So,
have designated how we've tasked our person to vote. So this was a more lengthy process than we have time for right now. So
the only way we could have any guidance for how to vote would be to send out a poll.
And that's a compressed time frame. We have a week to put it together and access all of those resolutions, and then there would be no discussion. So all you would do is poll, and then how would we determine, like, if the poll came back and 5 people said support and 5 people said didn't, or how would the board respond to that? So there is no discussion. There would be no discussion.
So that kind of leaves us, though, at a no vote option.
Or abstaining, right?
Or abstaining. That is a choice. We can choose.
I don't mean a no vote as in don't do it. I mean
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Not voting.
To not vote. Correct. So we haven't had adequate time to discuss this, and it's perfectly acceptable to say that we're choosing not to vote on these resolutions.
Are there any that are particularly relevant to CTE?
Not that I saw. I mean, the one about vaping, universal school meals. We don't serve meals. There is something about the educational transformation effort, and the VSBA's position on legislation. So this is, kind of. Those are resolutions 9 and 10. If you'd like to take a look at them, Dan. And the resolution on education transformation is number 7. So the recommendations from VSBA are for the education transformation is to pass the motion. I don't have the language in front of me. I just have this cheat sheet. And then about VSBA's position on certain legislation that's before the the legislature is to take no position.
Which resolution?
Those were 9 and 10.
Nine is, do you want me, anybody want me to?
Yeah, if you have it, you can at least give us an idea what that is.
Whereas the state legislature is considering legislation that will eliminate local accountability for schools by forcing the consolidation of school districts. And there is no evidence that consolidating school districts will save any money because most small districts have already moved administrative functions to the supervisory union. And whereas proposed legislation would make it easier to force the closure of small schools against the wishes of local residents without evidence that such closures would save significant money and would be damaging to the communities and seriously erode the quality of education that rural students in Vermont receive. And whereas small elementary schools often have small classes that offer students the individual attention they need to thrive in these challenging times, and therefore, be it resolved that the VSBA will rigorously oppose any legislation that seeks to force the consolidation of school districts or make it easier to force the closure of small schools, or will impose minimum class sizes on small elementary schools, and will support legislation to ensure that local communities have a strong voice in deciding whether small schools should close. That is resolution proposal number 9 from the Ludlow Mount Holly UUSD board.
Might you just do the resolution for 10 instead of the whole thing at the bottom, what they're proposing?
Sorry. Number 10 is, be it resolved that the VSBA will vigorously oppose any legislation that seeks to force the consolidation of school districts or make it easier to force the closure of small schools, or will impose minimum class sizes on small elementary schools, and will support legislation to ensure that local communities have a strong voice in deciding whether small schools should close. Both of those, the board recommendation is take no position.
Again, it's wading into the consolidation fight, and
So our action item is to assign a voting board member for the meeting coming up, right? They're voting on other things?
no, I think
just
these are all
voting on the
just the
resolutions?
resolutions. These are just the resolutions.
I see.
So, because that takes place at that business meeting, that's the week before.
Okay,
And it's not the conference.
gotcha.
So, what's the board's pleasure? Do we want to wade into these controversies, or do we just want to abstain this time around? Answer your question, I didn't see any that directly related to CTEs.
Then us weighing in would just be throwing our weight around issues that don't necessarily. Anything with redistricting is, of course, going to affect us, but staying neutral or staying away from any recommendations.
Yeah, but some of these the strongly worded ones are about to stop the legislature from closing small schools, and I don't know that we do want to weigh in on that. Most of those are elementary schools. There are a few high schools, but certainly not in the districts that are in our catchment area. So.
This is Liz. So my thoughts on this are, I've watched a couple of their meetings, and I think the take no position is great, and I think that there's been some school boards actually withdraw from the VSBA, if I understood correctly, because they did decide to take no position. I guess, so since we can't really go through them all, I think that I see our board chair as having a really strong sense from being the chair for as long as she has been, that if we were to, even though we might have outlying opinions, I think she probably has a pretty good sense of all of us as a board as a collective, and I think I would be comfortable with assigning her to vote for us on our behalf with as a representative of us as a collective. and an understanding of us. I think that she does have enough of a sense of the members to do that. So I guess that's my thought on it. I would be fine with either way, either abstaining or trusting her to do her best, knowing who she's representing, if that makes sense to anyone else.
Anyone else like to say anything?
I agree. I think that Kim represents us, but again, maybe we could advise her to abstain from voting on issues that are not consequential to CTE. Can we do that? Or do we just leave it up to Kim? What do we recommend?
I don't know that any resolution would bind her,
Yeah.
other than to say vote this way on this resolution. So. There is not currently a motion on the table, and since we have a choice to make, to designate someone, to abstain from voting, or to designate Nicole as our representative. So would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move that we appoint Kim to vote as our chosen member,
Okay.
in accordance with what she feels best represents the board's opinion on this.
Okay, it's been moved to appoint Kim as our representative and to allow her to vote as she sees fit. Is there a second?
that.
Okay, Dan has seconded it. All in favor of that, or is there any further discussion?
You first.
You go first.
One more
Oh, let's Elizabeth.
One more thing, sorry, I maybe we could plan on next year, having a little board homework to look those over, so that we're in a different position next year to kind of weigh in during a meeting. Does that sound good too? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's reasonable.
What was my question? Oh, are we, as far as a board and what we're legally allowed to do, are we allowed to email Kim and say, hey, you know, you've been appointed to this, here's how I feel on this specific issue? Is that something that we are or are not allowed to do?
You're actually not.
Okay,
Because the board's only allowed to communicate in this public meeting.
great.
Right.
I thought that, but I wasn't sure. Great,
Good
thank you.
question.
And
Yeah, I was basically gonna say what Liz said, like, I agree that Kim is a good representative for all of us. We've all been together mostly for a pretty long time, or long enough. But I would like to request that next year, this process happens in a different way. So we're aware of the resolutions as a group, and we read them over together and discuss them.
any other comments? I would just like to say that if Kim wanted the ability to cast these votes, she knew what these resolutions were. Why did she not tell us how she would vote on them? Which is, if she wants to represent us, then perhaps we could have heard her position. But I will go with the will of the board. I won't be voting unless there's a tie, so.
It's an interesting point. Yeah, going into this blind.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kim knows how we feel, I think.
I guess we could also ask for a report on how she votes. That might be good to know.
We could ask.
Yeah.
But not as part of, would you like to amend the resolution?
No. Just part of the discussion process.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, it's been moved and seconded that we appoint Kim Farnham to be our representative as the voting member for the Hannaford Career Center at the upcoming VSBA meeting. All in favor of that resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, sounds like Kim is going to be our voting representative. Okay, we are really far behind. I am sorry about that, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Okay, I think I'm returning it to Nicole. this section?
I'll just speak under the discussion item, so you can skip me for now.
Okay, so on to superintendent's report.
Oh, that's what I was skipping, because I'm gonna speak under the discussion item.
Okay, so you're saying that now we're down to budget committee?
Yes.
Okay, I see. I think Kim is the chair of the budget committee, isn't she? Yeah.
Dan is.
Oh, Dan is.
Yeah.
And it's,
What does Dan need to say?
Dan likes budget committee, talk about himself in the third person. Austin and Dave are preparing 3 scenarios for us. All 3 include the addition of a new course, right, either electrical or plumbing. There's a critical repair needed at North Campus, the roof. And so we're looking at that probably as a necessity. And then looking at 3 scenarios where we're not trimming anything, I believe, and trying to keep the budget under a 9% increase, under a 10% increase, as recommended by my mentor. And so we will see those, and hopefully we'll have a first review of these at our meeting on November 20th. And that's why we're going to meet on the October 30th, hopefully to review the 3 scenarios. Is there any other detail that we need on that?
I think that's a great summary. The only thing from a logistical standpoint is health insurance costs are baked in pretty much at 13 to 15%. That's sort of what VHI is telling us. There is some good news with the insurance front. VSBA is forecasting only a 5% rate increase, so but we'll get into some more of those details in a couple weeks.
Okay, so what's the difference between 13% and 5%? I mean, what? I thought
VSBA is our multi-line insurance carrier.
Right.
So VSBA is our health insurance premiums, which is separate from our multi-line insurance.
Oh, okay.
That's our liability and all that.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Cyber crime, all that kind of stuff.
You know, we got salaries and changes in enrollment to deal with. And, the proposed cuts thoughts of cutting are kind of tabled for now, because what we're thinking about cutting are things that may have a temporary blip in enrollment. And I think we just need to see, we can't be too hasty in cutting the program.
And I think we also discussed making one program, 2 half-days situations, but instead of a full-day program, right?
Yeah, so no net impact on the budget, but
Right.
maybe a restructuring of the schedule will boost enrollment.
So we maybe wouldn't have to cut the program.
Okay, any further discussion from the budget committee?
Austin, can you just remind us where we are with the audit at this point?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure, that was on my things to touch on. So the last couple of weeks, we've sort of reached the finish line with our auditors. So as of yesterday or the day before, actually, we went back and forth and finally settled on a trial balance. And so the real work now begins in getting our systems in Tyler to match what the auditors are saying. Here is your final trial balance. They will send that version to us. We were expecting it the last day or two, and so, knock on wood, tomorrow we'll have a final audit in hand. And then again, the next piece of that is, as soon as we have that finalized, we have to then pivot, do the pre-work for FY25 audit. And there's a bit of a system conversion component that's involved because of the cleanup and just getting our fund balances to carry forward to FY25. But the good news is, again, I'll sing David's praises to no end, but we really, the last 2 weeks, gutted a lot of the financials and had some really meaningful conversations and hard conversations with the auditors. Hard part is in like a lot of work and just a lot of back and forth and digging through thousands of lines of GL activity. But I'm confident we'll have a final draft audit any day, any hour now.
There's another piece I was going to share.
Will they come give us a report?
Yep, next month.
Samantha at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
So she'll give her spiel and
Yeah.
go through the significant findings and all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
in our next board meeting.
Congratulations, I know it's the time.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
And does that conclude what you guys need to say? Okay, great. So we're ready to move on to the Facilities Committee.
Dan is also the chair of that one, and,
Oh.
no? Oh,
Yes.
anyway, it says so in here, but I think we actually asked, Bill was gonna be it, so I think this is just slightly, but anyway, Bill's not here, but we were all at the meeting, you were remote at that one, right? At the Facilities
I
Committee?
think so, yes.
Yep. I think basically everything that you just said about the budget is true with facilities. The roof, the major expenditures, a lot of what you said, the class also means plans up there at North Campus that go hand in hand. David has equally done a whole presentation of different scenarios for that. He went over that, I think, at the last meeting. He was like with an elevator, without an elevator, all of that sort of stuff.
That's right. Yeah,
So
that's-
we've kind of gone over that. So I think that
Right.
pretty easy report if anybody has any other questions.
Yeah, there's like two scenarios. One is to go forward and with a major build, and then it was part of that proposal for that grant. Is that we go forward with
That's right.
a
That was what it was
major
about.
change, or we kind of patch together, adding a little room off of a mezzanine and adding an expensive elevator. that
Right.
hardly be used.
Elevator to nowhere, basically.
And as Dave puts it, it's hardly used. What did you call that elevator? It was
Oh, Lula?
Lula.
Light use,
Light.
industrial, something like that, Lula.
Limited use,
Limited access or something.
limited, something.
Yeah.
And it was still gonna be $500,000.
It's an elevator, but it just moves slow.
Right, and it's still gonna be $500,000, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
It
probably.
just seems we could better spend that on something that the students will use, all the students will use. So, all right.
Let me just add that we're kicking off a 5-year capital plan, improvement plan. Just so Bill is helping with that. We're looking at we're looking back at how we kind of did this back in the $8 million bond era. And so we'll be starting to kick that off and working through some of that, informally developing that plan.
Any questions?
Anything else from facilities? Okay, on to policy. That would be me. So we didn't reach quorum 2 times recently, and so the policy committee is a little on the back foot here. We're trying to sort out where we stand on some of the things that we've got, and so it's been a retrench. The last meeting was a retrench, trying to figure out what policies have been read already and what needed to move forward. So we're in a bit of a holding pattern right now. In the next meeting, hopefully we will have our ducks in a row to be able to continue to move forward. The stuff that needed to be in by October 1st also threw a monkey wrench into our regular schedule. So sorry for the heavy lift on the 8 policies, but we did need to get some things sorted out and get some things off the table. So hopefully we'll be moving forward more systematically in the November board meeting. So, okay, now Nicole's going to talk about stuff.
So in your agenda, there's a link to a presentation put out by Senator Beck and Dave Wolk. This seems to be getting a lot of conversation right now, which is organizing new districts around technical education centers. Not exactly around the 17 centers because there are only 14 new districts here, but pretty close. So the implication for us is, as we continue to talk about, we are not necessarily impacted negatively by this as long as it includes enlarging our footprint. So that wasn't exactly the same as Addison County is currently. It would, in order for this to be positive or something that we would be favorable toward, we would need to include some of either districts currently to our north or south. so that less students were being turned away from CTE and more students were able to access this center. So this isn't anywhere near currently, this isn't in a space where it's being voted on or an active like legislative idea. This is just being floated and talked about in the task force and seems to be getting a lot of face time essentially. But I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the board because as it currently stands, it doesn't increase our footprint and that would be a problem. A problem not just for us, but a problem for student access to CTE. We already know the issues with students being turned away in the regions to our north and our south because they're full, their capacity, nobody's doing anything bad, it's just they are full and we have room. So hopefully we can make sure that we continue to push our number one priority, which is expansion of our catchment area, regardless of what happens with districts.
Yeah. Do we have a solution? Can we grab a town or two without, is there some idea that we could take like northern Rutland County? Is there some, I agree with you that we want to expand, but I think you've been thinking about this a lot. You must have some idea of a few towns that have students being turned away that we could include. Could there be a CTE district and then a school district? Are we thinking it's going to be the same thing? She's shaking her head.
So a while ago, Wendy ran a bunch of numbers. It was a very great project. And so we actually do have, I'm not sure I want to discuss it in a public setting unless we're doing a formal presentation, but we have identified several towns that could easily fall into our catchment area. And that would not increase commute times by much, if any, to those students. It is also important for the board to understand that this is only one idea, right? The position that has been put forward with an actual piece of legislation from AOE, they wrote a piece of legislation which we're vetting right now, is again that one CTE for the whole district idea, which they've been consistent with from day one, right? That is the first idea that they have been discussing for CTE. And so that has not changed.
So statewide district for CTE?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Wow.
And just one, right?
Just one,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that would be outside of whatever happened with all other districts.
Yeah.
Would they align the agendas of all the CTEs?
I will say that the legislation has little detail. It's more of a structural change.
Okay.
Did I hear someone online say that they wanted to say something? Steve, did you want to say something?
Not really.
Oh, okay. I thought somebody was.
I was amused by that last statement. I laughed.
Oh, I see. Okay. My apologies. Christina?
Well, Peter Conlon came to our school board meeting on Monday and acknowledged that Addison County was probably going to be impacted in one of the worst ways, just generally, in this whole process, which is, unfortunate and really hard to hear, because we're basically kind of helpless, And this really demonstrates that, honestly, on some level.
Just wanted to point out there's an article in the Adding Media that came out today talking about 5 districts and some, and talking about how the Career Center here in Middlebury has the infrastructure to manage payroll and all the things. So I just thought it was an interesting thing to point out.
Who wrote the article?
Probably Flowers.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see that because the very first proposal that started this whole thing from the agency was 5 districts, if you remember, and one giant one. I wonder if it's the same.
It's us and up north. I can pull up the map real quick.
Because they're going to do 3 versions, right? Is what they're aiming for.
I have a question and then an observation. Nicole, if they do that designation like that, would we lose our access to students from Water Valley?
If they do which one?
Like you said, one per county, so then Otter Valley wouldn't be in Addison County. So, and we have some students that come here from Otter Valley. Would we lose access to those students?
It depends on if they change the current state statute or board rule. Right now, a student can come here if their home catchment area is either full or doesn't offer the program. So we get a lot of diesel students, for example.
Right. ART as well.
Right, but our position would be that we actually just change the catchment area to better align with the population, right, based on high school population.
Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Stafford is about the same distance as we are from Otter Valley, isn't it?
Correct.
So, and the observation is that there's a lot of hand-wringing about what's going on about consolidation, much of it around the elementary schools, and the failure of districts to consolidate and make those schools smaller has pretty much tied on what's going on. You see it in these resolutions. Everybody who has a stake in it is saying, don't close my school, don't close my school. And this is just not a viable position. And so, yes, it is drastic. Yes, we are going to lose, but it's a little bit of our own doing because we didn't solve the problem when it needed to be solved. So that's my opinion. Ready to move on to the enrollment update?
Sure. It looks like the second tab that's in the link did get printed, which has the reasons for the changes, but it is in your link. It's a second tab under there, and I can just verbally kind of give you the update on that.
So just to set the context, we had given an enrollment report previously, and the board had requested that we do a deeper dive into it as far as by program, by student, things like that. So Wendy has prepared that forward.
So these are adds and drops, basically for the last this year and then the year before, and broken down by sending schools. So last year we had a lot of drops, especially with Middlebury, and we were told that that was due to the new scheduling that they had implemented. But you can see that we had, a little bit of a decrease in those drops, but still plenty this year. Most of them happen after the school year is out. So most of them start coming in the summer, and then once school has actually started. That's kind of the rub, because that's where we've already made our plans based on the numbers that we had, that we thought people were obligated to be coming. So we've hired TAs, we might have certain equipment or resources that we've obligated. So it's also broken down by program. The only thing I'll point out there is this year we had a much bigger drop in our numbers for construction 1, which is very unusual. It's not been that high since we brought the program back. So we're trying to dig deeper into that, but that brings me to the second tab where we have the reasons why. And it's really hard to get reasons why from students, particularly. Sometimes they can articulate and they know full well, and then other times I'm not sure they even really know, from day to day. We had 8 students that moved, so that is part of what's going on. We had 1 death. Of a handful, just a handful saying basically once they tried it, it wasn't really what they thought it was, but we're talking onesies and twosies around that. It wasn't the right fit for me. They're pursuing something else, just no longer wanted a tech program. The majority, however, 89, had no reason to give. So that's when we go back to the counselors and try to get information. And it's challenging to get that information. Right now, we have 2 representatives actually going tomorrow to a statewide meeting that are working on CTE admissions. And we're hopeful that the state will actually try to move this forward. They started it last year, and then as soon as the transformation started in, they put this on the back burner, but we've kind of all been saying, all the CTE centers are saying that it would be really helpful to have something more statewide that's consistent, that's, we're not hearing, oh, well, we don't do that, we turn students away if such and such. So we'll see. That meeting's tomorrow, and we'll be starting a work session next week on our own policy. So as we make changes, we'll bring that to the board for approval before that goes out in January. Any particular, yes, Judd?
We're in a weird position with this scheduling thing that's at Middlebury that is driving potentially the massive disproportionate amount of drops. And I don't know that we're going to get Middlebury to suddenly make their school day half an hour earlier. Again, I don't know. But whether or not the Career Center is involved in this or not, it just is amazing to me to think that one of the 3 sending schools, all on its own, has decided for their student body that it's healthier for them to be 30 minutes later. It seems like the students in the other schools would be the same. So I wonder if the Career Center has a position or a reason when you're in meetings with those other superintendents, because if all of their schedules were aligned, then our schedule could align with all of theirs. We are aligned with 2 of their schedules and not the 3rd. So is there is this something that's brought up at meetings? Are you guys pushing those other superintendents to say, can you please get on the same page on this? This is ridiculous that 2 out of 3 are still with 1, and it just seems so insane. And it seems like there is a very clear-cut student detriment here. It's creating a situation where students who do want to take Career Center classes simply can't do it. And I know I beat this horse before because I have 2 kids who have gone through the Career Center, and they talk about their friends who are in these really academically minded students, but they're having to cut short their class at the Career Center by 30 minutes so they can get to their Middlebury class, or vice versa. I'm not sure I totally, but they still are taking Career Center classes if they can, but they lose out on 30 minutes of it in the beginning or the end. They are right, and we all have this conversation all the time about, we do all of this for the students, we do this for the students. Clearly, as a collective, we are not making this decision for the students. This is a bad decision for the students. This causes students to be late to their classes in other schools and their sending schools. This causes issues with food times. This causes issues with all sorts of things. And I cannot understand how intelligent people who are working in the same community, 3 superintendents, cannot agree on a start time. Just really bugs me.
Are you looking at me?
I will respond, but I'm going to wait for everybody else.
No, go ahead.
No. During the meeting, I'm supposed to respond last, so chair speaks last.
So the short answer is yes, we work very closely with the schools and explain all of the pain points that we experience with students. We have been fairly successful in many cases in solving a lot of pain points. This particular one seems to be more challenging to solve. The board may not be aware, the other concern we have is when you look at the intro page, the next page where we have the introduction classes, the board may not know, but we run actually a separate section for the military students. Because of the schedule that they have there, they could not access in the intro classes if we did not do that. Those classes are shorter, so the students receive a 1/3 less instructional time in those introduction classes. We also, at least this last year, we built them and then they did not come. So we built a section that's not very populated. So it's kind of a double whammy for us for our 6th semester rolling average, in that we have less students getting less time in all of those sections. What we had hoped was that we could eliminate these special sections and have all 3 high school students in the same sections. And that we were not able to make that work with the schedule at the high school.
Well, thank you for trying.
Yeah. Did anyone else want to comment?
I have some questions about the numbers, but you can talk about, like,
I would like to push back a little bit about what you said, Jed, because research is fairly clear that a later start time for high school students is better for them.
Right, but that's my point. Then the other two schools
schools
should also follow suit so that we all can.
Yes, and so when I'm very sensitive about that, that Middlebury is following the research and the other schools are not, but
Right.
Middlebury is shouldering a very large portion of the blame for not being in alignment with everybody else. And I understand that this is a delicate issue and it is not helping students, because it's a choice. Do they start at a better start time, or do they lose access to the Career Center, which neither one of those should be a choice that they have to
But
make.
it's not even just about the Career Center, it's about the 3 schools being aligned, and if this is...
We can't coordinate. We didn't realize the mountains that needed to be moved to coordinate this calendar between those 3 schools, and that was a pretty big lift. Schedules are tricky and schedules are hard, and it causes a lot of problems when you alter a schedule.
Right.
All the way down the line. And so to say that we have the right answer and you guys should change, that's not going to work.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm suggesting that we get a situation where all of the 3 sending schools and us are aligned. I'm not saying that one is right or wrong. I don't really care whether it's a half an hour earlier or later or on Tuesdays or Fridays. I just think it seems like it would be logical for us all to have a cohesive schedule. We would all have the same start time. It would affect sports and other activities. It's all of those things. So I'm not actually saying that, I'm not blaming Middlebury. Middlebury is just the only one, they're the outlier of the numbers. But if that's the right data, my point is exactly that that data should be for all of the students in all of Vermont. It shouldn't just be one school. And so when one school does it, even if they're right, it is a major detriment to all of the students in the district.
Okay, so.
Just to add one other thing, just as for those of you who sit on other boards. So as we've talked about many times, our tuition is set on a 6 semester rolling average. So one thing I can worry about is if we have a lot of drops from any particular sector, then that actually drives up the tuition rate for all of our sending schools, because our 6 semester rolling average takes a hit, which then, you divide the cost by the tuition and it goes up. So it is a concern, I think, of the county that we bring to the table, not just the immediate school district. So it's something for those of you who sit on other boards to be thinking about.
Christine, you said you had a question.
I was just comparing some numbers, like, so we actually had less drops than the previous year, is that right? And,
Yes.
And then what's really kind of interesting is so many more ads last year than this year.
Mm-hmm.
What is that all about? I'm just curious.
I don't know, because that was early on as well. So I'm wondering if that had something to do with one of our schools not getting their applications in on time, and it might have been having to do with mums.
Okay.
They might have been just a little bit later.
Okay. It's just,
Yeah,
there's a big
it
discrepancy
is, that
there.
is
Yeah, I was just
interesting,
curious,
yeah.
And I guess at least the number went down a little bit, but for drops, but it's still
Right,
way too
still,
high.
it's just because it's so unpredictable for us, right? And we really need to be able to rely on that number more, or at least at some point. So we're trying to figure out how much weight can we put into our application process so that, you know, once you sign on here, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
This isn't just, you know, just for kicks because your friend's doing it today. To try to get everybody to understand. And it's hard because the way K through 12 schools are funded is so different that they don't understand. You know, for them, moving a student from one class to another is nothing. But when they take a student out of us, it's a huge problem.
Any further discussion on the enrollment report? Okay, let's move on to board goals. This is on the agenda, but I am not sure what it's about.
Well, it's about our board retreat.
Oh, okay.
And the goals that we talked about there. The document's not linked though, so did everybody get a copy of it?
I can't remember it.
Because we emailed it to be put on the agenda and the document, but since it's not linked, I'm going to assume that nobody read it. Is that correct? Which will make it difficult for us to talk about.
Well, that's why when I saw it on the agenda, I'm like,
Right.
I don't know what this is.
Anyway, Dan worked on the template, put the template together, and
Stan cleaned it up.
well, I didn't actually. I was supposed to do that, and I was out of town, and then we needed to get it to you guys, so I basically forwarded the copy that Dan worked on. And the 3 goals we talked about at the retreat were, goal 1 was transparency, goal 2 was collaborate with sending schools to mitigate the extent of student drops, interestingly enough, that we were just discussing that. And then advocating with local legislatures. So those are the 3 goals that we kind of landed on at the board retreat in September. And we were meant to kind of talk about it further, and we need to adopt these goals, and we probably need to work on the wordsmithing of these goals a bit. But since no one has got a copy of it, I'm not sure we can do that right now.
So perhaps push this back to November?
Perhaps I would say that again, sorry.
Is it perhaps push this to November?
I guess, which is a shame because
Yes.
we're going to be halfway into the year and we have no board goals, which really is.
No. But set it as a homework.
Yes, yeah.
Be a homework task to get that out and take a look at it. It is fairly complicated.
So would you be able to, so it's residing with
I emailed
administration?
Kim
Oh, Kim.
and Nicole with this document. Actually, I guess I didn't email Shannon, so maybe that's why Shannon didn't get the link.
Hold on, I'm looking for it.
It was on October 10th.
Thank you.
Yeah. So sorry, everybody. We'll just move it on to the next, and Dan and I will maybe
No problem. Just
work on
let's make sure.
wordsmithing it a little bit better, and then we'll, sorry.
It's kind of a new thing anyway for us all, isn't it? So
It is, it
we do
is.
need to get it moving, but
Yeah, no problem. It's just where do we go? How do we go forward? And so we should expect an email sometime soon with a link to those.
Yes.
So that we can be prepared for them for the November meeting.
Yeah, beginning of November.
Okay.
Because I'm going out of town next week too.
Okay.
For a few days.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay, all right, sorry.
I mean, you said it needs wordsmithing, but I'm sure that any working copy that you have now is better than what we have.
Yeah, I can actually email everybody the document right now.
So that'll give people an opportunity to take a look at it
Let's do
and be
that
prepared
right now.
for November.
Where did
Okay.
I just find it?
Sounds reasonable.
Sorry. Yeah, because if you have any feedback about what you think about whatever, that would be great.
Okay.
it will require some buy-in by the board. for it, of course. Have to look at it.
Yeah, sure. So we ready to move on to the Forestry grant, or was there more to say? Okay, update on the Forestry grant.
I think that's me. Thank you guys for meeting special session. We submitted the grant last Thursday with the help of a whole bunch of folks, including architect and engineer. The proposal was to build a building at North Campus to house natural resource management and sustainable ag and intro to ag. And that would prevent us from having to put an elevator in the North Campus building and building a classroom. The building that we presented was a 5,000 square foot building, and the price tag of that was about $3 million, which is very high. The grant is for $900,000. So if we were to get that grant, we had a lot of decisions to figure out how to move forward. We should hear by the end of the year that we've gotten it, but I think we put a very strong package together in that. So I think it's great to open up options, but that also creates a lot more work than that is a yes. So more to come on that.
And for those of you that were not able to go to the special session, there was documentation linked to that, and it did, although that was the A presentation, there were a couple of other building options that were there as well. So if you haven't taken a look at those, you might want to.
Because that will affect the budget,
It
the overall
will.
budget as well, of course, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Because the grant is a matching grant.
Right.
So if it's 900,000, we have to match at least 900,000.
And Dave offered to pay for it himself.
Well, it would be an all-out capital campaign. It would be grant money. It would be probably a bond of some sort, and then we would be reaching out to philanthropy grants, other grants, and those sort. I think if there is a weakness in our grant, it was that we didn't really have a solid funding stream that was committed. But I think the advantages of what we did, it puts something out there that we can strive towards and look at, and it's an option that we have, and it's real. It's a real option. So we can just continue moving forward.
Okay, so are we ready to move on the agenda? There is no public in the room. Is there any public that has joined us online? Since there is no public, then we can move on. Would someone like to take on board reflections for 5 minutes at the most?
I'll do way less.
Yeah, I would like to add something. I want to thank the business team, the amount of work that's gone into putting the budget together, the different options that the budget committee has asked for, and the creation of a cash flow analysis, which I've always felt was kind of important when it comes to predicting what we're going to have to borrow. And then they've managed to pull that together and have done that is remarkable. And the amount of work they put into this is something that's just really impressed me. So I want to thank those guys, and I think the board can probably acknowledge the amount of work that they put into this. It's been tremendous.
Cheers.
And also as a board member where I feel have always felt kind of a little bit remote from some of this stuff, but being on the budget committee has really opened my eyes to what goes into this in a very real sense. We all have our different strengths. Some of us are great on policy, some of us are great on the regulatory oversight that's needed to keep this thing working. But I think as we all grow into our roles as board members, I've really enjoyed learning about those other aspects of it. Communication with everybody has been great, so thank you.
Any others? I apologize that we are so far over time, and if any of it was my fault, I do apologize for that.
I think we just had a lot to do.
We did have a full agenda.
Yeah.
trust me, Nicole was like, you can't add any more policies. We're already full. So stop adding, but we can get this one. And she was like, no.
I guess we could have
you
split
need
them
to
up,
stop.
but.
So, yeah, okay. Please note that November 20th, it's the Thursday before Thanksgiving, I believe, is our next meeting. And I think that is, we have on our agenda an executive session, so if someone would like to make the motions to move in the executive session, there are two portions of it. If you remember, one of them is that we have to have the findings first, so it's a two-part motion, and then the second one would be to go into executive session for 2 reasons. So, would anyone like to tackle that? I have a cheat sheet here if you would like.
Go for it, Laura. I was just going to read that paragraph.
Which one? This is the number 2, right?
This is this is number 1. You got to do the finding for for the negotiations one.
I would like to enter executive session pursuant to 1 VSA 313A1, finding that premature public knowledge would clearly place the public body or person involved at substantial disadvantage. RE, I'm assuming labor relations.
Yes.
Agreement with employees.
Yes. So it's been moved to find that we need to go into executive session for negotiations. That's the summary. Would anyone like to second that?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, so that's the finding. Now,
I move to enter executive session for the purpose of discussing the not that one, sorry. Discussing labor relations agreements with employees under Title I, Section 313A1. And
313A3.
Oh, sorry, and 313A3, employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee.
sorry, two-part motion for 2 reasons. Any discussion? Oh, second. I need a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, Judd seconded. We still doing okay? Linda? Okay, and vote. All in favor of going into executive session?
Aye.
Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Any minutes?